Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you for exchanging your energy with me, as this is an energy exchange. I hope that you benefit from whatever this energy has to give you. My job as a channeler is to bring forth information that will help you navigate this world. And hopefully it'll help you navigate your life with a lot more ease, especially because we're going through a process of what is called an ascension. So we are all rising in vibration. We are all rising in frequency. And that can feel a little bit intimidating at times. It can feel very chaotic. And it certainly seems at times like the world is going mad. So if you are watching this type of channel, you already know that you are in a process of ascension. You already know that humanity is on the rise. And when humanity is on the rise, it simply means that we are in a process of letting go of something that is old in order to experience, in order to express something new. So you are no different. You and I are no different. So you are on your way of experiencing better and better, bigger and better for yourself in your world. The how, that's all individual. But my job as Joanna with my team is to help you navigate your own world, your own particular world, with information that will hopefully be useful to you and practical enough so that you can actually put it into work in your practical life. Because at the end of the day, if you don't practice something, then you're never going to get the possible results of that practice. So I can channel a whole bunch of beautiful information, but if that information just remains on a level of information and it's not practiced, it's not being put into practice, then it's the results or lack of results are going to be relative to us not practicing this new information. And I don't believe I'm channeling new information. I believe what I channel is ancient old. We all have this awareness in our being. My job is to help you essentially remember who you really are, that you are not a human being. You are having an experience as a human being. You are absolutely unconditional, except you live a life that is structured by a whole bunch of conditions. And underneath all those conditions you hold about yourself is the real you. And my job and my joy really is to help you remember just that. So however it comes to you through me, I hope that it benefits you in tremendous ways. If you could be so kind, and once you watch this video and you like what you hear and you feel that this could benefit other beings, other souls, to help them on their journey, me and my team will be forever grateful. The more people have this information, the more everyone's inner truth begins to be revealed. And that is, at the end of the day, we are all beings that come from source, which is nothing more and nothing less than unconditional love. But our human mind has a very hard time grasping it. So in any case, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. If you are here, it tells me that you are drawn for a reason. You may have opened this video, it's like, well, let me see what this is all about, and something rings true to you. I always say, do not take anything that I channel as gospel. What I channel is merely a different perspective. It is a higher perspective, but it's a higher perspective, and therefore it's a different perspective. It doesn't mean that I am right, that this information is right. It doesn't mean your information is wrong. It simply means a different perspective and a different way of being, seeing, expressing, living. And then you get to choose which perspective you'd like to try on. For those of you who are returning, of course, thank you so much for being here. Without you, I wouldn't do this. I often say when I do this work, I feel like I'm at home. And many of you have commented that when you connect with source, spirit, angels, whatever term you want to use, when you connect with the higher mind, it feels like it's home, because in fact it is home. It's where we all come from. It is beyond our cognition, our limited thinking, but this is Earth is not our home. It's our home now, temporarily, but it's not the home, which is kind of ironic because home is everywhere, and that's a whole different subject. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sharing. Without you, I wouldn't do this. There would be no need for me to do this, and what I do brings me tremendous joy. I was in Sedona for my birthday, and day before my birthday, I got a massive upgrade. So I'm still integrating. So I'm feeling a little bit wonked out. And I'll share with you the little bit of what happened. We were driving to the Grand Canyon, and while in the car, I was hit with this massive awareness where I saw the entire quote-unquote matrix. It's the only word I can use it. I have no other words to use it. And it was basically having an awareness of everything being all at once. And I remember thinking to myself, I think I'm going crazy. My logical mind, my ego self started to freak out, because this level of awareness is something that I am certainly not used to. It is energy. So having awareness of this massive level of energy was quite frightening to my ego. But I recognize this feeling. I've had this feeling before. So even though there was a part of me that was panicking because I thought I was going crazy, I knew that all I had to do was just breathe deeply into it, because what was happening is I was essentially becoming aware of what is beyond the veil that I experience every day. And for the human mind, for the typical human mind, that is too much information all at once, and it actually feels like you're losing your SHIT. Because everything that you've known up until this point, everything that you connect with, is all of a sudden shattered, and what you see is something so massively different that your mind, your logical mind, has absolutely no ability or capability to make sense of it on any level. So it's confused and it's scared. It's how I felt. Thankfully, it didn't last for very long. And like I said, I remember, I recall this feeling. I've had this feeling on several occasions over the last few years. So this was my second time in Sedona in the last 2 years. And every time I go there, I always get this upgrade. I don't know why I'm sharing this with you. Just because I wanted to share this with you. Maybe some of you will recognize this feeling. Maybe you too have experienced this feeling somehow, and it scared the hell out of you. And you didn't know what was happening. Maybe me sharing this with you is going to validate you, not only validate your experience, but also say, hey, it's okay. What you felt was monumental, but you're not going crazy. And I could see, having had this experience several times, what it might feel like when person is actually going crazy. It is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I was actually thinking I was going crazy. Had that experience a few times. So if you have these experiences in moments, or if you ever will have these experiences, when you have these experiences, just know, and it's very hard to do in the moment, know that you're not going crazy, that something profound is happening. But your mind, your logical mind, is not capable of making sense of any of it. None whatsoever. So the only thing that you've got is your breath. And just remembering that you are more than a human being, that a human being is a concept, and you are a concept, but beyond that concept, there is the truth of all that is. And what you are likely experiencing is the truth of all that is beyond your limited concept. And that's you beyond your identity. And what that really means is that when you experience you beyond your identity, but you don't know what it means, it's very terrifying. Okay, so I hope this was purposeful and helpful. Me sharing this with you guys. I know there's someone needs to hear this. So yes, the validation for you is, yes, you are having a valid experience, and no, you're not going crazy. Okay, but it certainly can and does feel like at least that way. At least it felt that way to me. On the second day, which was my actual birthday, I got a call from a really good friend of mine that my really, really dear friend died unexpectedly while traveling in Croatia. And this is a very, very dear person to me. We met probably about 15 years ago. She actually hired me when I was still working in a 3D world. And in our first interview, within 5 minutes of us talking, she looked at me and she said, "Joanna, you are a light bearer." And an instant connection was made. And we ended up working together. And even when we didn't work together, we ended up becoming very close friends. And unfortunately, she parted ways with this world in a very unexpected way. And so I'm in the process of experiencing a loss, and I'm not quite sure how to deal with it, to be honest with you. There's all these conflicting emotions and feelings and denial that she's no longer on this earth, and she was never afraid to die. In fact, she beat a very rare form of cancer 8 years ago, and she was completely cleared. In other words, she said F you to cancer. What got her was pneumonia, and she was gone in 3 days, unfortunately. So I am a little bit not myself. Despite the fact that I'm not being myself, I can feel the channel is happening. So I am just allowing myself to share my sorrow with you. Because I believe that's going to help me. And I know that Sharon is her name, would want me to keep doing what I'm doing, because she was one of the first people that ever believed in me in this way. She saw me for who I was and always said, "Joanna, you can't see it." And I always said, "I don't know what you're talking about." So she encouraged me to always be the light that I am, as you are, and not to ever apologize for it. So I almost wanted to apologize for feeling this way, but there's no apologies necessary. So bottom line is, I had a very eventful week, one of massive upgrade and one of a pretty massive loss. So forgive me if I stop here and there, because I have to collect my emotions. And I know that I wanted to say, I know she would be proud of me, but I know she already is proud of me. She has been proud of me for a very long time, before I even saw myself. And to have friends like that in this world, or any world for that matter, is absolutely priceless. When someone believes in you in a way that you don't believe in yourself, it's a gift that's very hard to describe. And you only understand this gift when you come to your own realization of what this person is seeing about you that you have not been able to see about yourself. And I feel like she's standing next to me and she's saying, "I told you so, I told you so." And she was she lived her truth for most of her life. She got to the point where she didn't care what anybody else thought about her. But she was an extraordinarily caring and giving person. She found a way not to let life get to her. Of course she had her moments. Of course she had issues and challenges to deal with. Of course she went through a very rare form of cancer. But even then she said, "I'm not going anywhere. I just know it." and she had this peace. So today, this channeling I am doing in honor of you, Sharon, because she's always encouraged me to do what I'm here for, and I believe that I'm here to share things with you in a way that's going to help you, that's going to help me, and hopefully it's going to help the entire world. So thank you for giving me this moment to share this with you. It's like a total polarity that I'm sharing with you. And so speaking of navigating, I am trying to, quote unquote, figure out how to navigate through it. And the challenge with it is that I cannot figure it out, because it is not to be figured out. It's to be moved through. And I know it. I teach it all the time. I have to be, what do they say? I have to be the walking example. I have to go through it too. Just because I share information doesn't exclude me for having these experiences. So I am trying to navigate through these energies right now. And that isn't always easy, because it has its ups and downs and lows and highs. This morning I had a very low, and right now I'm coming back a little bit on a high. And I know I'll have a high moment and I'm going to go have a low moment again. And you probably likely feel the same way. Not because you've lost someone, thank God, or hopefully, but because this is what life is. And the only option that we really have is to move through it. And when we move through it, we effectively release the energy. So I can do what I used to do, which is comfort myself with food. I could do that. I could go make myself busy and go out running. I could do that, which I will do later. I could make an excuse not to do something so that I don't have to feel it. I can do many different things other than actually moving through this energy, and I know that's not going to help me. It's not going to help me in the long run. It might help me in the short run. It might give me something to distract myself with, which is fine and perfectly appropriate at times. But at the end of the day, I still have to move through this energy. There is no way around it. I have to move through it. And moving through something is often the hardest part. When we are met through a challenge and then we move through a challenge, it's often the hardest part. But it is through the challenges that we ultimately grow and we ultimately expand. And each and every one of us, you and I, are always moving through some sort of challenges. Some are bigger, some are smaller, some are somewhere in between. Right now, our planet is moving through a massive challenge. Our planet is needing to face itself, not the planet itself, but the humans in it, on it. So we are in a process of facing ourselves. So just like I have to face my own sorrow, my own loss, my own whatever it is that I feel, and those are not often things I choose. In the same way, you have to face something in your life. It doesn't have to be bad. Sometimes the things that we are facing that are really good are often scare us the most. It's a thing. So each and every one of you experiences challenges, will experience challenges, have experienced challenges, big and small, and you've gone through it. You know how I know that you've gone through it? Because you're here right now. You're sitting in it. You're sitting in front of this device, whatever it is, and you've gone through it. Which means if you've gone through it, you move through it. And you will keep on moving through it. And you will keep on moving past it. Whatever challenge you're faced with, you'll move through it. The only way is to way through it, or a way out. So if you're not meant to be here tomorrow, you're not going to be here. Obviously, I'm not saying you won't be, but there's only two choices: move through a situation, or check out. And we're not checking out anytime soon. And I'm certainly not saying that you should. So please don't make comments on that to that account, because that's not what I'm saying. So today's piles are going to be about you rising to the occasion. Perhaps there is something wonderful in your life that will be happening that's going to come as a surprise to you, and you're going to be asked to rise to the occasion. Oftentimes we ask for things, but we have to rise to the occasion. And oftentimes whatever we ask for can represent a challenge. So let's see what each pile says. But before I do that, I want to share with you the collective energies. What are we experiencing collectively? By the way, when I was in Sedona, I got 2 decks, new decks, so I'm using cards from each deck. Go beyond limits. This is what humanity is going through. Pretty self-explanatory. What's really happening is we are collectively moving closer to home. Our true home. The home beyond our own human identity. Source. We are all in a process of moving closer to source. But that's not really correct or factual, because we are close to source. We are source itself. It's in us. We're in it. It is in us. It is the recognition of that we are moving closer to. We are beginning to recognize collectively that we are more than a human being, and then we are all part of the one. You can call it Buddha, you can call it God, you can call it consciousness, you can call it a giraffe for all I care. Makes no difference. G-O-D doesn't give a shit what you call it. And by the way, G-O-D is not a human. We tend to think as G-O-D as a human because humans made it to be that way so that we can grasp it, but G-O-D is not a human. And I'm specifically saying G-O-D, you know what it stands for, because God has a lot of negative attachments to it. It has it for me as Joanna. That's why I don't often say the word God, although I'm getting better at it. I'm getting used to it. That's because my own conditioning around what the idea of what God is supposed to be is completely being reconditioned. So humanity is, in essence, moving closer to source by realizing that we are all part of source. Now, when I say humanity is moving closer towards that, it's going to take some time. It's going to be a while before most people on the planet are going to have this conscious recognition, this conscious awareness that we are all part of one and all that is. Most people identify as body, as separate, right? So it's going to take probably a few hundred years before most humans on this planet will have this conscious recognition that they are more than the body and they're a part of one, and they will actually be embodying it rather than just having a conceptual idea in their head. Because many of us have this idea, but we are not embodying it. And the truth is that when you embody that knowledge, your entire life changes. It just does. I don't know how. I can't give you the equation to it. I just know it does. It's an experience. It's also something that cannot be taught. It cannot be told to somebody. It cannot be proven, at least right now. It cannot be forced upon. It has to be experienced. So each and every one of you is in a process of moving towards a greater, more expanded experience of your oneness. And you and I and each one of us are part of, is what we create, is how consciousness, collective, is created. So you and I are part of collective consciousness. The more you and I have the experience of oneness, the more that experience will spread across this globe, and it will become a collective consciousness. You and I are all part of that. Okay. How do we do that? We, each and every one of us, have to do our own homework. We have to recognize the aspects of ourselves that are telling us that we are not that. that we are not oneness, that we are not love, that we are not worthy, whatever that is, I refer to it as shadows. And for those of you who know me, I call myself the Queen of Shadows because I love working with shadows. So that's what collectively we're going through. Additionally, this is a message that says formation. Okay. What I see in this message is release. Releasing the ego through transformation. What do I mean when I say releasing the ego? Releasing the ego so that it isn't the driver of our life. We are usually driven by our ego, which is the small mind, which is the conditioned mind. You have a mind that's unconditional. So when I say releasing the ego, it's letting the clutches of the ego be not so, how do I say this? It's about moving beyond the understanding of us as ego only. I hope that's making sense. Shift of consciousness, let's just put it that way. And, okay, what I'm getting is that some of you may start seeing apparitions. Apparitions when something appears to you, you don't know where it comes from, and it's the result of the veil thinning. So as we release more of our ego, which tells us who we are, who we should be, what's allowed, what's not allowed, what's real, what's not real, what's possible, what's not possible. When we move beyond that conditioning is when the veil begins to thin and we begin to peek through the veil and see things we have not seen before. In fact, you might be starting to see things and rubbing your eyes and wondering, am I seeing things? Well, chances are you are. If you're seeing things, yes, there are some mental conditions like schizophrenia and things like that, but this is not what I'm talking about, is when you start seeing things that are quote unquote not real or not supposed to real, you begin to scratch your head, and your ego has a very hard time with that because it doesn't know what to do with it. Okay, so some of you will resonate with this, and because this is going all globally, this is representing the consciousness, collective consciousness. We as a collective are going to be seeing more things that are not supposed to be real, and that's going to mess with our heads. So if you're one of those people who is starting to see things and you're wondering, what the hell is wrong with me? Well, chances are quite high there's nothing wrong with you. In fact, what's happening is the rightness is peeking through, because beyond your conditions, beyond the veil, you are so much more. You know that already conceptually, but this is a time where humanity is going to start seeing things with their outer eye or with their inner eye that it hasn't seen before, and it's going to be met with a bit of a disbelief. In other words, can I believe what I'm seeing? Can you? It all depends. We are collectively looking at what's broken, what's not working. I feel that's very appropriate. I think we should be looking at that. Because if something is broken and something is not working, why do we continue doing it? Why do we continue do things that are not working? Well, it could only mean that it must be working somehow if we continue doing it. So if we do things that are not working, but we're doing them, then something must be working. So we have to identify why do we do the things that we do that are no longer working? If they were really not working, we wouldn't do it. So we must do it for a reason. What's the reason? And every person has to identify that. For example, this is just a very random example. Let's say I call myself stupid. And I mean it. Oh my God, Joanna, I'm so stupid. You're so stupid, Joanna. And it becomes part of my vocabulary. If I was to look outside of myself, calling myself stupid and believing that I was stupid, I would likely see very quickly that that isn't serving me. Okay, that's a broken system. It doesn't work, but it does. If it wasn't working, I wouldn't be calling myself stupid. So if calling myself stupid is something obviously that wouldn't benefit me, then why am I doing it? Well, perhaps the benefit I am deriving from calling myself stupid is to keep myself small. Why? Because I identify myself as small. So if I identify myself as small and I keep doing things to make myself feel small, then that says I feel comfortable or at comfort being small. Do I? I must, if that's where I'm keeping myself. Now that's just an example to give you, to help you understand the message. The purpose of this particular message is to help you see how you truly see yourself. How we see ourselves. Do we see ourselves as unworthy? Do we see ourselves as unlovable? Do we see ourselves as bad? And we all have, do we see ourselves as guilty, by the way? And that is a hugely condition in humanity's fabric. So there's so many layers that we are holding on to that we have no awareness of, but it's included in every day as we practice life. It just does. They just become part of our identity. So on a collective, we are looking at things that are broken. So something in your life is broken and you continue to do it. You have to ask yourself this question: why do I continue doing that? Why do I continue doing this? Why am I doing this, for God's sake? Why do you? Find your reason. Because unless you find your reason and deal with the reason, you'll never, quote unquote, fix the thing that you're doing that's broken. Okay? I don't know how that message arrived for you guys, but it came at 3131. So that's what we're going through collectively. Now let's go through individual piles and see what each pile has in store for you. All right, pile number 1. Let's see what we have for you. Seek wonder. Okay. It did came to me reversed. My specific way of looking at it, it says that there is some resistance to it. Okay. The firefly represents mental transformation. What this is telling me is that likely you, pile number 1, are holding yourself back, or you're holding yourself hostage in your own mind. In other words, you are practicing, speaking of small in the earlier message, you are practicing being small. You are comfortable being small. Perhaps you are comfortable not being seen, but you want to be seen. So you have this dynamic going on where you are wanting to be seen, but you are comfortable not being seen. So there's a war, there's a conflict going on. If this resonates with you, and if you have fears around being seen, whether for what you do, for who you are, for what you believe, you have to ask yourself this question: where is this fear coming from? Okay. Most likely, it's coming from the idea of having a fear of rejection. No one wants to be rejected. It's not fun. Okay. The reality is life will reject you, but sometimes it's not very personal. Sometimes it's not personal at all. Sometimes it's just a difference of opinion. Okay. But for you, pile number 1, this goes deeper. Because of your fear of rejection, you hide, you keep yourself in the back, you don't allow yourself to be seen, and for many of you, you are a leader. So if you identify with a leadership quality, but you're like, nah, I don't want it, you have this quality within you for a reason, for a purpose. You brought this quality with you for a reason. You are to be in charge. First and foremost, in charge of your own life, and then be in charge in, community, whatever it is. On the other hand, if you don't identify with that at all, and you're like, that's not a message for me, the question might be, you might be asking yourself, am I truly in charge of my own life, or do I let others take charge of how I live my life? In other words, do I listen to others to tell me how to live? Now, the reality is that most humans listen to the outside without even realizing that we are listening to the outside to tell us how we live, because it's so deeply unconsciously conditioned. We all do it. Okay? But the moment you can recognize that this is what's happening and you realize that's not what I want, you can make a different choice. And we will make choices based on how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves within this world. So pile number one, how do you see yourself that prevents you from expressing more and that keeps you in your small little comfort zone? Now, if you're comfortable and perfectly content being small, feeling small, then that's perfectly fine. Then that message is not for you. This is for those of you who are not content, not being yourself, but you are too afraid to do anything about it. The reality is that what's holding you back is your own shadow. And if you're going to be under control of your shadow, and shadow is generally fear-based, what you are basically saying is that you are in control. What's in control of you is your own fear. Fear of rejection, I think that's the biggest one. A fear of abandonment, which is kind of sort of similar. Okay, to be abandoned feels like rejection. Okay, they're not one and the same, but it's a similar feel. Okay, no one wants to feel either of those. I want to talk about resistance of letting go. Now, we all know what resistance is. Okay, there's no point beating around the bush. I'm not saying resistance is bad. In fact, it's neither good nor bad. The point I'm trying to make is your resistance keeping you small? What? If that's the case, then you want to ask yourself, what's this resistance about? Why are you resisting being more of yourself? Why are you resisting of letting go of your old identity? I'll tell you one reason. The reason why most people are resist letting go of their old identity is because that's all they know. It's their sense of safety and security. So whenever we have difficulty of letting something go, it is almost always because it's attached to our perception of safety and security. And it's very deeply rooted. It's not something that's usually conscious. I happen to see these things because that's what I'm made for, to see these things. But anytime we have difficulty of letting something go, it's because it's almost always rooted in sense of safety and security. So what you are afraid of letting go is your sense of safety and security. Now think about it for a moment. Your identity, because you believe in it, is your sense of safety and security. And the universe says, you want to have a different experience? Let go of this identity. That's going to be very scary. It's called ego death for a reason. Okay. So pile number one, your job is to identify how you see yourself and how you live your life according to how you see yourself. Again, if you see yourself as inadequate, you will live your life accordingly. You will not reach very high because this part of you that believes that you're inadequate is going to resist being more. Okay? And you can plug in your own example. Speaking of perspectives, this beautiful being that's appearing to me as an angel is pregnant with opportunities. There's something fundamentally beautiful on the horizon, and I feel like I can't wait to get there. But it requires you to change your mind. It requires you to let go of your limited thinking. It requires you to let go of restrictions you put in your own mind without even knowing that that's what you do every single day. For example, if you keep telling yourself, oh, that's never going to happen, oh, I'm not good enough to do that, or I'll never have a lot of money, you are creating your own restrictions. I need you to see that. You are creating your own restrictions. Whenever you say I can or I can't, you're correct. You've heard this before. Okay, so this beautiful being is showing up, and she's pregnant. That's how I'm seeing it. And there's different symbols that I'm seeing. Peace. There's a lot of peace that's being indicated, and this peace is release. Thank you. It's like in order for you to experience peace, there is a release that needs to take place. Okay? We come from peace. Peace, in fact, is all we want. We might say we want money, and we might say we want this or that. No, what we want is what that something represents to us. Humans want peace. Humans want to be loved, they want to be accepted, and they want peace. The moment you have peace in your mind and in your body, your entire life changes, because you start creating life from a peaceful space rather than from the opposite, which is a fearful space. Okay. I also want to say black crow is your omen. So if you see a black crow, that's an omen. It's a very good omen. To me, it represents psychic, but I feel like there's something more. There's some other variation of a message. Porcupine, okay, all right. Some of you look up at the idea of porcupine. I'm actually going to have to do that. And see how porcupine resonates with you with regards to whatever circumstances you're going through, and see if a porcupine has a message for you. But this beautiful being is pregnant, and she's full of ideas, and she's wanting to connect with you, but she feels like she's being held back because you are not allowing yourself to be more. In other words, she can't force you to be more than what you currently are, but she can surely encourage you. So there is some celestial encouragement that I feel is being given to you. It might come to you just as inspiration. It might come to you as an inner voice. It might come to you through a channel like this. And in fact, there's a lot of beings around you, whoever you are, which you may not be aware of or even identify. That's okay. Just acknowledge. I'm here to tell you this message for you to acknowledge that there is other positive forces vying for you. And these forces, positive forces, powerful forces, want nothing more for you than for you to just be yourself and be at peace and comfortable with yourself, being yourself. That's what these beings want for you. They can't do it for you. They can't force it on you. They can't make it happen with you. The best they can do is wait until you decide that you are ready to embody more of you. Decide. I've decided. No, you haven't. You haven't. You say you do, but you're not doing, you're not following through with it. If you decided to be more, then stop calling yourself stupid, as an example. If you've decided you want to be more true to yourself, then stop holding yourself back and tell someone the truth in terms of how you feel. If you want to be more, but you keep yourself behind and say to yourself, oh no, that's never going to happen to me, I'm just born in the wrong family. That's not you deciding. That's you playing the old game. You deciding playing the old game. If you want to experience more of you, then you have to stop doing the things that you are doing that are keeping you in a space where you feel like you are not yourself or that you can't be yourself. Who says you can't be yourself? You do. Somebody else may have said it to you before. Yes. That's a story. It is an old story. But if you keep clinging onto this story, then you are now telling yourself. So maybe it's time to look at the old story, release some of the baggage, let go of your shadow trying to control your life out of safety and security, and realize that what happened before does not mean it's going to happen again. However, if you believe in that, that's exactly what's going to happen, because you will create it. Okay? And your angels, guides, whoever these beings are, they can't stop you from doing that, because that's your free will. So if you want a different experience, if you want a different existence, you have to stop doing what you're doing that keeps you in this experience right now. Now, there's going to be a lot of people saying, I am sick, I didn't ask for it. You're right, you didn't. Not as a human. As a soul, your soul has a reason for it. Sometimes it's very difficult to understand this reason, absolutely, and sometimes it will make the ego really mad. Perhaps these beings are here to help you understand the reason behind what's happening. An interesting thing happens when we understand the reason, when we understand the bigger picture, when it makes sense. All of a sudden, it becomes a little bit of a struggle because we understand the meaning behind it. And you and I and everyone in this world is here to learn through challenges. So whatever challenge you're going through, if you can gain wisdom from it, then you've quote unquote passed the lesson. You never have to do it again. Does that mean that automatically you're going to be cured if that's your case? No, it may mean that you will stop resisting as much as you're resisting right now what's going on, and you'll begin to have more peace with it. And as a result of having more peace with it, that's going to be very healing to your entire condition. I'm not saying you guys have a condition. This is just an example that they're giving me because I feel like it makes a lot of sense. Okay. Last but not least, we have the Ten of Swords. Your mind is all over the place right now, as to be expected considering what the world is going through. Okay. What is your biggest worry right now? Okay. You're not going to have money. Okay. Very valid, very human, something we all need. There's no point in denying it. Okay. Is it a fact or is it your imagination? I can pretty much guarantee you that it's 99.9999999% your imagination. Okay. Because if you believe it's not going to happen in the future, what you are doing is you are creating an idea in your mind. You are creating that story and you are projecting that forward. But it's a dream. It's not real. It hasn't happened yet. Okay? You don't know. You can win $1 million tomorrow. Okay? That's not going to happen. How do you know? Maybe somebody's going to give you money. The point is you don't know. You actually don't know. You have your experience and you base your projection based on your past experience, but all you're doing is you are repeating your experience into the future. Is that what you want? Of course, that's not what you want. Stop playing mental game with yourself, telling yourself constantly that you can't do something, you can't achieve something, you're too small, you're whatever. Remember what I said at the very beginning of the collective message. You are more than your thinking and your human mind. Your thinking and your human mind is very limited. You are more than that. Your mind, your human mind, is your prison. You are in your own prison. Is that what you want? Of course that's not what you want. Well, then why you're in it? More often than not is because A, we're not even aware of it. 2, we're actually comfortable in it. People released from prison, more than 50%, and this has been documented, come back. They don't know what to do with freedom. Okay? Perhaps freedom actually scares you. Perhaps freedom tells you, I don't know what to do. Maybe. So this is what I have for you, pile number 1. Of course, if this resonates with you on any level, and if you feel like you need help, my team and myself would be honored to help you figure this out. You can connect with me at info@joannathehealer.com, and there's links down below. So thank you so much, pile number 1. Let's see now what we have for pile number 2. All right, let's see what we have for you, pile number 2. Remember your innocence. Okay. They're asking me to pay attention to water. So right now, it's very likely that you are emotionally very charged. you're likely going through some experience that is having you be emotionally very charged. Could be anger, could be loss of satisfaction. There's some emotional conflict going on with you. Okay. Remember when I talked at the very beginning in the collective message about me that the only thing I can do is to move through it or to pretend it's not happening? You're likely moving through some waters right now. You're moving through some emotions right now, and it's going to kick up your safety and security fears a notch. Okay, this could be a loss of a relationship, could be a loss of a job, could be just a change in a circumstance, could also be a change in the world that affects you in a very deep way. The reason why this is speaking to you about your innocence is because it's showing you who you really are underneath the drama, underneath the chaos, and underneath the illusion that you are experiencing in this 3D physical world. And it's a very real illusion. Okay. I don't mean to say that it's an illusion and therefore it's frivolous. Absolutely it's not. Okay? It's a pretty big illusion, a pretty important one, and pretty real. So whatever you're going through right now, whatever fears are being kicked up a notch, give yourself the time and give yourself the space in order to process some of these emotions. Okay, I feel like there's quite a bit coming up for you, like it wants to be released. You also don't want to turn away from what's going on. You want to face it. And sometimes facing challenges is not easy, right? So I'm not saying you're going to have something difficult to face, but the entire planet is going through challenges. There's no way around that. My job is to help you move through it, okay? I keep hearing, remember who you are. You're part of the collective, but you're not even the collective itself. It's you're part of. Everything you're going through, the collective is going through. In other words, the collective is moving through you. So what you're moving through is collective frequency. Now, if you identify as an empath, that's gonna affect you a lot. So you are likely moving a lot of energies and frequencies that are on a collective level. In other words, you're like a sponge. Okay. What you need to do if you identify with this message is you need to have a daily cleansing ritual, daily energetic cleansing ritual. And there's a gazillion different ways of energetically cleanse. My simplest one is I imagine light coming up from above me and just pouring down through me and just clearing my energy from any residue that I might have picked up that is lower vibrating. Remember, intention is the biggest thing. Okay, ask your guides to help you. Don't make it complicated. Make it pretty simple and easy, as it should be, as it is. So daily cleansing rituals and also gratitude journals. It's important for you for everyone, but it's important for you, pile number 2, to establish some sort of a spiritual practice. And okay, according to my team, having like a gratitude journal is very much a spiritual practice. Because when we focus on our gratitude, we bring more of the same to ourselves. So everybody knows that. But again, this is a tool that you can use to help you move through some of these energies. When you're grateful for something, does that mean you're going to feel less? No, but it's going to help you shift your perspective so that you're not so engrossed in all of the energies that you are processing. And it's going to help you move through it in a way that is going to feel a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to take it away, but it's going to allow you to move through it with a little bit more confidence and a little bit more ease. So you, pile number 2, are moving a lot of energy through you, a lot of fear-based energy. Okay, I keep looking at this red, this blood red. Survival fears, a very good thing for you would be to ground, if you could, in nature, if possible, bare feet on the ground, if possible, of course, or on the floor, just doing a lot of grounding, drinking a lot of water. So this message actually is quite different than the first message, but I like that. Is there anything else? What I'm feeling is that you're opening yourself up to more opportunities right now. You are in an energetic space where you are opening yourself up to more opportunities right now. These opportunities may not be visible to you in the moment, but you are in the process of opening up yourself to more and greater opportunities. And opening up can feel hard. Why? Because when we are not used to being open, then we are not used to it. When we're closed, and that's our norm. When we start feeling open, we open up to the world. We become more open as human beings. And openness is interesting because when we become open, we also, at the same time, can feel very vulnerable. So you are likely in a process where, as you are opening yourself up to greater opportunities, at the same time, you are feeling much more vulnerable. Okay. Now, feeling vulnerable isn't bad. It's uncomfortable, but it's not bad. At the end of the day, what everyone wants to see is you being an authentic person. That's what everybody wants. That's what I would want for you. I want you to be your authentic person. I don't want you to be anything more or anything less. Just do you. Okay? If doing you was a big no-no for you in the past, then allowing yourself to express being more of you, which means being more open, that's gonna scare you a little bit. Okay? So you are likely walking around feeling open, maybe a little bit too open, and it's a little bit scary because you're picking things up. Okay? You'll get used to this feeling. Does that mean that you're always going to feel vulnerable? Yes and no. The vulnerability won't be felt by you the way it feels right now, which is kind of raw. Okay? That rawness is going to go away. You're going to feel much more comfortable being you and being open, being your authentic you, which is also vulnerable. Okay? We're all vulnerable, just FYI, every single individual. Pay attention to what you see about yourself that impacts you negatively. Pay attention to what you see about yourself that impacts you negatively. Why is that? Because how you see yourself, you will act out accordingly. Similar message from pile number 1 or from the beginning. Okay? So your actions or inactions and your habits will always be linked to the way you see yourself and your sense of value. Okay, so your sense of value is changing, pile number 2. You're becoming, it's like you're in a process of restructuring, and as you're in a process of restructuring, you're like a diamond that's being shaped, right? Now, you know the whole saying that, just finding a diamond as a rock, if you were to look at it, no big deal. But then it goes through a certain process, and it's a pretty strenuous process, and then it becomes this faceted, beautiful piece of rock. Many times it's priceless. So you are in that process right now. You're in that space where you're tossing and turning, and as a result of this turning, which represents turmoil, as a result of this turning, what is happening is you are becoming more multifaceted. That's the best way that I can describe it. And that means very reflective, and there is many, I want to say there's many sides to you. That's how I want to say it. Okay, so that's message number 1. Message number 2, surface. Okay. Let me look at this message. Trust. Trust the flow. Not always easy thing to do when you're going through a turmoil. Oh, I trust this turmoil. Yeah, great. Okay. I'm not saying you should be dancing around because you're going through a turmoil. No, you feel what you feel. Okay. If you feel crappy, allow yourself to feel that. What this is asking you is, and it's a big ask, I will say it. The ask is this: whatever you are experiencing, trust that this is part of your own process. If it wasn't part of your process, it wouldn't be part of your process. It's as simple as that. You may not understand the process. You may disagree with this process. You may hate this process. You may not identify with this process. You're like, I don't know what this process is for. Nonetheless, it's part of your process. If you can learn to trust that even the most challenging situations are part of a bigger plan, and if you can some way, somehow, even pretend to relax to it and move through it, your life will change forever. Because you will be living in acceptance of versus in resistance to. And resistance is where the discomfort and pain usually is the resistance. It's resistance to flow. Okay. Also, trust yourself. Trust yourself. When you make a choice and you make a decision and you employ all your faculties and you check in with yourself and you feel like it's the right decision for you, like you feel it in your bones. If you feel it in that moment, trust yourself. Perhaps it's your soul speaking to you. Trust yourself. Whatever it is that you're doing or going through, you can do this. You will do this. In fact, you are doing it right now. You're right smack in the middle of it right now. It's a process. It has a beginning and the end. This process is not going to go forever, especially if it's an uncomfortable one. As the process as I'm going through, for example, with having lost a very dear friend, it's a process I have to go through. It's a process of grieving. I would prefer not to go through it because I don't like how it feels. It sucks. My heart aches and I don't like it. I don't like it, okay? I don't like it. But my personal choice is to accept it. The other thing is not to accept it, which means I would be in non-acceptance of what is, and that is a lot of resistance, and I don't want to do that because that hurts even more. Not only that, it prolongs the experience, and I certainly do not want that. So you can, quote unquote, shorten this experience if you allow yourself to trust the process. Whatever that is for you, I don't know what it is. It's obviously going to be different for different people. Okay. So what you see here is our two beings. One that has her eyes closed, I believe it's her, and one that is not quite sure. And there's a part of you, the true part of you, that knows exactly what's happening. It knows it's part of the process. It trusts the process. It's the higher version of you. It's in the flow. This other part of you that's not trusting, it's your ego. Your ego is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Why am I going through this? What's the purpose for it? How does that make any sense? I don't like it. In fact, I hate it. Okay. You have two sides you have two aspects to you. That's okay. That's okay. Don't vilify yourself for it. Don't feel bad for it. Don't feel bad for feeling that this is not what you want. Just, it is what it is. But just know that there's some part of you that knows exactly where you're going, knows exactly the reason for why it's happening, what's happening. And it actually leads the way if you let it, but you have to trust it. So this is about trusting the higher aspect of you, the higher version of you. Whatever is happening with you, As difficult as it might seem, trust the process. Okay? Last but not least, we have Eight of Swords. Okay? So it looks to me, what I'm getting is the word defeat. You are stuck. You are stuck. Swords are all about the mind, right? You're stuck in your own prison, and you may not even know why. Perhaps whatever it is that you are going through is to help you realize that you are the maker of your own prison. Okay? What am I seeing here? One of his feet is untied, so he could wobble, but he's not. There are stairs here where he can wobble up, but he's not doing that because he's not seeing it. So whatever situation you're going through, there's an aspect of you that's either not willing to see a way out or is just resigned. Okay? I'm going to just tune into the idea of being resigned. You're just stuck in your head. You're stuck in your head. Whatever you're going through, there's a way out of this. It is part of the process. But you need to be willing to find a different way, to find a new way, to see a different, maybe it's seeing a different outcome. Maybe you're stuck on a certain outcome and it's not happening, but maybe the outcome you're seeking is not the outcome that you're quote unquote meant to have. Maybe the universe has bigger plans for you, but you're stuck in your little small prison. Maybe that's really what's going on with you, and you're just not able to see it because you want what you want. Oftentimes what we want is definitely not what we need. It is absolutely sometimes not what we need. And sometimes your guides, your higher self is going to kind of keep you from it because it's not part of your path, if we could use that analogy. And then you may say, well, about free will. Well, you have designed certain things for yourself, certain parameters. I mean, at the end of the day, you can still keep yourself in your own prison. That's your choice, but you don't have to. So again, I am not minimizing anyone's situation if you're going through a challenge. That is absolutely not the message here. The message is quite actually the opposite. The message is you can turn this around. You can come out of it, but you have to be willing to look at it from a different perspective. Otherwise, it's going to be what it's going to be. And at the end of the day, nothing ever stays the same forever. Whatever this is you're going through is going to, you're going to move through it, and it's, you'll move out of it eventually, but you could move out of it relatively quicker and with a lot more ease. So that's what I have for you, pile number 2. I hope that was helpful. All right, pile number 3, let's see what we have for you. The first message we have for you is restore balance. I think that's a hedgehog. It does come up to me in reverse, which tells me there's a bit of resistance. Okay. Hedgehog. I'm going to look at the idea of hedgehog. Just give me a minute because this is important. So here's what hedgehog symbolizes as a spiritual animal. The importance of self-protection and the ability to shield ourselves from emotional or spiritual harm. By embracing the hedgehog's protective nature, we can learn to safeguard our well-being and maintain our inner balance. It's an animal for a strong symbol for self-protection. They also signify intricate self-work, such as overcoming your challenges and finding your true purpose. As a totem, hold the hedgehog to remember that even the smallest creatures needn't be afraid of the most dangerous roads. So what this is saying to me is that this is a similar message to pile number 1. You are essentially let me just see what she wants to say to me. you likely feel that you are feeling alone, because when I looked at this image, what I heard from this image was a voice that said, I am here all by myself. I'm here alone. So you're likely someone who either has always or is feeling like you're alone. You know that there's a reason and a purpose for you being on this earth, but you're feeling alone. Also, you are feeling neglected, or you have been neglected as a child, emotionally neglected, which makes sense to me because this is all about spiritual, all about emotional protection and facing your overcoming challenges, self-work, okay? So this is speaking to me of self-nurture and identifying more with your inner child, more so than your logical head. What does that mean, Joanna? What does that mean? It means identify more with your innocence than with your lack. Okay, so pile number 3, you have a lack belief system, and this is a lack about you in terms of what you represent, okay? And I believe that this is the result of either emotional misuse, emotional abuse, or emotional neglect, okay? Am I saying every single one of you who are watching this file fall in that space? No, but this is for somebody, okay? And this emotional neglect has left you feeling emotionally unsafe. So you, pile number 3, are likely not feeling emotionally safe within your own self. Maybe that's why you are telling me, your soul is telling me that you're feeling alone. Perhaps you believe that there is no one there in the world who will support you, who will give you what you need, who will be there for you, who will protect you, who will be there by your side, who will believe in you. Okay? Perhaps this is part of your story. Here's what I'm going to tell you, pile number 3. Your biggest supporter is God itself. Do you need anyone bigger than that? There's nothing bigger. That's your biggest supporter. Your biggest supporter is God, or whatever name you want to give it. Why? Because God loves you unconditionally. The question is, have you learned how to love yourself? Learning how to love yourself through self-acceptance is one of your biggest lessons, pile number 3. Most people have a fundamental flawed conditioning within them that they are not worthy to be loved. It's very deeply conditioned in our society. And that we lack. We lack no thing. You lack no thing. What is lacking is the understanding of the fact that you are not lacking. You do not lack a thing. However, because you might have been emotionally neglected when you were young, you might have realized about yourself as a consequence of this neglect that somehow you are not worthy, or you are not enough, or you are somehow not, you're not good enough to be loved, to be accepted. And that's because one of your biggest lessons is to learn how to love and accept yourself. If you don't love and accept yourself, you will be living through your shadows, which is living life through fear and limitation. Your soul is saying to you, we don't want that anymore, do we? So your soul is asking you a question. Do we want to continue believing in this story that you are somehow not good enough and not lovable? Do we want to believe in that? If the answer is yes, go for it. Knock your socks off. More power to you. I have a funny suspicion the answer is no. Then let's look at your belief system. Let's look at what is driving these thoughts. What is driving these emotions? What is driving these behaviors that continue to feed this belief that you are somehow not good enough, that you are somehow not worthy? Now, unfortunately, certain religions have a lot to do with that. It's been ingrained in the humanity's fabric, Christianity, for example, for a very long time. And it's so deeply woven within our DNA that we don't even know we have it. Nonetheless, we do. I'm not putting religion down, but a lot of certain religions are based on fear. Let's face it. You have to be worthy of God's love, so you have to repent. Remember, God doesn't give a shit. Pardon me. Because God didn't put limitations on you. Anyway, moving on. What's your belief system in terms of your own value and what you believe about yourself? Again, this is somewhat similar to pound number 1. Do you actually believe that you are not worthy? Because if you do, the question is, do you want to continue to believe that? If the answer is no, let's unravel this erroneous belief system and let's put in place a brand new belief system. What kind of belief system? You get to decide that. That's up to you. But if a current belief system has been decided by somebody else because you didn't know any different or you didn't know any better, which is what happens, and then you continue that belief system, then now it's yours and it's up to you to look at it and go, yeah, no, that's not what I want. I just heard, I implore you to change your mind. Please change your mind in terms of how you see yourself. Please change your mind in how you see yourself. Please change your mind in what you want for yourself. Please change your mind and want more. Now, if you're happy where you're at, feeling unworthy, again, knock your socks off. More power to you. I suspect that's not the case if you resonate with this information, with this message, okay? So look at Hedgehog. That's going to have some more information for you. Specialization. So this image reminds me of the Empress. She has so much to give. You have so much to give. If you believe that you are unworthy, if you believe that you are not enough, if you believe that you're not worthy to be loved, to be accepted, you're not going to share what you brought with you. And what you brought with you is something extraordinarily transformational. You have transformational tool within your hands. It's not a physical thing. It's a figure of speech. You possess within you, I want to say, it's like a tool that helps people transform their lives. It's not a tool like a nail hammer. It's a tool. It's a spiritual tool. And you have a lot of it. You can help people deal with their emotions. You can help people manage their emotions. In fact, you can help people understand their emotions, much like I do. You have so much to give. But unless you look at your own understanding of yourself, unless you look at your own limited thinking and concepts, and unless you realize that the whole unworthy idea is nothing but a man-made joke, you're just going to keep on being the person that feels unworthy. And how tragic is that? Because if you believe that you're unworthy, you're not going to open yourself up. You're not going to allow the universe give more to you. And why wouldn't you want to experience more? Now, if you're happy with what you're experiencing, great. But we naturally want to experience more, not because we want more. It's because we're all constantly evolving. We're constantly evolving. If we're in status quo, we're not growing. We naturally want to grow. That's how we're made. That's how we're created. the image I'm being given, it's like wearing pants and having your belt on the last notch and it's really tight, and you're pretending that you're really, really thin, so you put the belt really, really tight, but it's uncomfortable as heck. You have to hold your breath. It's like you're trying to pretend that you're someone's that you're not. That's an example. That's just a very interesting example. Are you trying to do things to appear certain ways to other people because you believe that if you don't, they're going to reject you or neglect you? You got to look at these stories, because what you are doing is you're projecting. Number one. Number two, you are not accepting yourself as you are. So if you don't accept yourself as you are, how do you think other people are going to accept you as you are? And many of them do, but you don't. I accept you as you are, with all your quirks and your stuff and your quirks, with all of that, and you have your dark sides. We all do. Come out of hiding. Come out of your shell. You have so much to give. Some of you, there is a book inside of you. I feel like I want to go writing, journaling, writing. I want to write. Very poetic, something very poetic. You also connect with Moon, with Mother Moon. So you have some it's like you do rituals with Moon. So that's very shamanic to me. All I'm going to say is you have a lot to give. Your whole unworthiness thing, if it resonates with you, we've got to look at it. Because you don't have quote unquote time to waste time on this nonsense anymore. And I'm not minimizing your experience. I have battled with unworthiness most of my life. I'm 54. Still have reminiscence of it, but it's been a long journey. That's why I do what I do. I had to go through my own remembering to realize that this whole unworthiness thing is wildly crazy idea that we humans made up, but it's so deeply conditioned. I identified with it for so long. It was me. So it's still there, but it's not in a driver's seat. And I want that for you. I don't want you to be ruled by your insecurities. I don't want you to be the slave to your shadow. And by the way, your shadow only wants to protect you. So understanding your shadow and how it's trying to protect you goes a long, long, long way. So obviously shadow work is here indicated, but I'm going to say it again, sorry for repeating myself. Pile number 3, you have so much to give. This is like an empress to me. So much to give. So much to give. Last but not least, interesting. We have 7 of Wands. This feels to me like a career change. You're trying so hard to make something happen, but it's not working. So if this is a career thing, if you're in a situation where you're trying, but it's like, it's not giving me what I want. It's just like, blah, it's same old. Maybe what your body's telling you is, hey, it's time for something new. So all the gifts that I'm seeing that you have, all the things that you have to offer is likely tied to some situation that you are dealing with, either at work or career or how you express yourself. Well, here's what I'm getting. You might be feeling unworthy. You have some issues around worth, okay? However, you come here in order to experience a lot of giving because you've brought with you tremendous amounts of gifts. Okay, you're in a position right now where what you have been doing up until this point is no longer satisfying. You are likely looking for change, but you just don't know how to carve it out for yourself. The universe is knocking at your door and saying, hey, where you want to start is you want to start with your conditioning first and turn that on its head and start rewriting and reprogramming your story. The more you start, the moment you start to reprogram your story from inside out, the universe is going to meet you accordingly. So the moment you start realizing that there is no such thing as you being unworthy, that's just a whole bunch of SHIT, is the moment you will start to understand something different about yourself, that you are actually more than enough. when you start embodying that you are more than enough, the universe is going to bring you opportunities and say, hey, here's an opportunity for you. Go ahead. Share. Okay? If you're in a space where you're unworthy, but you're trying to make something better for yourself, you're in opposition to what you want. Simple. Because you want experience that's vibrationally here while you are vibrating here. Law of attraction, not going to work. You have to rise yourself. You have to rise your vibration. And that's all inner work, by the way. And that's what Hedgehog represents, intrinsic inner work. So that's what I have for you, pile number 3. Oh, those were a powerful message, actually. Thank you so much for being part of Joanna team and my team, my beautiful team. If you would like me and my team to help you, you can click on information there, connect with me. There's a calendar. You can book a session with me if this is what you're drawn to. I was also talking about offering classes. So the next few weeks, I'll be offering some classes. So if you are signed up to Joanna the Healer newsletter, you'll receive that information first. And please let me know how this resonates with you. I would love to hear your comments and see your comments, because they tell me, they let me know how this information is resonating with you. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't resonate with you, you can't put it into practice. And if you can't put it into practice, then what's the point, right? So thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you again. Take care of yourself and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.